Hey everybody. So this is another book that I have recently read, but this was a I'm not sure if was completely analytically reading this book. It was kind of a systematic skim, but kind of a little bit more. I finished reading this in about an hour and 30 minutes to 2 hours. So it was I can't say it was a very analytic read, but it wasn't like a 15-minute read. So, well, first in the book, the author presented the theory of not the theory, but some things that he thinks are going to happen in the next few hundred years. I'm not sure on the time period, but a brief history of tomorrow. So things he thinks is gonna happen in the future, and some of them are eternal youth or immortality or longer lifespan, the right to happiness, and I think less war. I forgot the last part, but I remember the right to happiness because he talked about he or she. Honestly, I'm not sure if who the author is. I haven't seen a picture. I didn't look at the author's blurb, so I'm not sure who. But they presented they presented a funny thing that not well, I can't say it's funny, but the information that basically people because they want to be feel just sensations of pleasure, and again, sensations are our state of being. So because they want to feel, or yeah, we could say they, because well, they I mean prisoners. Okay, we could just restart that. The number one crime is drugs. Maybe not the number one crime. I'm not too sure on the statistics of that, but they said the most popular one, and they showed well, there's two statistics: 55% and 38%, and those were in the United Kingdom and United States. So it's just a popular, it's a popular thing that people get caught for, drugs, and the drugs make them biochemically happy, which is basically what people want, or in a sense, I would say most people want to feel happy, unless you're an M. I read that in a manga somewhere. They said M, and I looked it up. I said, "What's an M?" And it's a masochist, and that's someone who wants to, like, they want to feel bad, but not in the sense of like they want to feel bad and depressed, but they get pleasure from being like put down and beat and things like that. So, but the biochemical pursuit of happiness basically is like the cause of number one cause of crime almost. And the immortality part, he talked about how what would happen if we were alive until 150 years old. And that would be crazy if I was alive for 150 years. He talked about how we would probably get bored of what we mastered in, because like we're probably going to be going to school then, and we're probably going to be like mastering one single thing, or well, people could take different routes obviously, but like if you were to become a doctor and then you were be in that field for until you were 90 years old, you would probably be bored. Unless something new is happening almost every week, on a weekly basis, then you would probably get bored. So then you probably want to go back to school, and you wouldn't want to retire, because then that's 60 years of your life just doing, well, I can't say doing nothing, but because people can enjoy retirement. But maybe now in the times that in the times of the pandemic crisis, you might not be able to enjoy your life as you could have in the past. So, so living for 150 years, that's a pretty scary thing, honestly. I have the idea that death is what makes us godly, makes us better than gods, because they can't die. Well, if even if gods are real, and with gods, honestly, if that comes up in another book, I'll explain my theory and my perspective on gods, because It's a pretty funny theory. It's a very funny theory. So next, I'll just go with what I remember. So the next funny thing is they talked about how of a social norm, a social normity, social norm basically. I'm not too sure on the endings of it, but that the better your lawn looks is basically connected with your social power, your money, and things of that nature. So for instance, like the White House, this was, or no, the example he gave was a college or university he went to, and I'm pretty sure this guy or girl again went to either Harvard or Yale, or maybe Stanford. I'm not sure, but they talked about how he could only be on the land for no, he went to University of Cambridge. Sorry, I remember that now. University of Cambridge and or Oxford. Maybe he went to a prestigious college. That's all I know. And they could only be on the land, the yard, the the yard thing for only one time a year, on one occasion a year. And he talked about the significance of that is basically that people think like the grass on the ground means something to society, but but it doesn't mean nothing. That's what he was trying to imply. That it's just grass on the ground. Like animals just eat it. It's it has no importance to how I feel and things like that. So next he talked about oh yes war. This is a this is a thing I've been interested in since I've got into the Anglo-Saxon history, which it's weird because I've gotten to first I was introduced into Anglo-Saxon history, but then I went to the Romans, which I think is honestly it's pretty stereotypical for people to read about the Romans now. I feel in my opinion, but like it's just cool honestly. It's like the fall, I'm pretty sure it's called The Fall and Decline of the Roman Empire. That book I have not read it yet, but I'm pretty sure it's just stereotypical. It's like what's the book that everyone reads? The Great Gatsby. Like it's pretty much just a stereotypical read that you gotta read it. But I will read it later on. I will read it later on. So oh yes, war. Sorry, I got off track. It's just a habit. But war. He talked about how war it's not nothing cool or anything. It's basically just people killing each other, and it can be described as senseless, but sometimes like depending on the side you're on, it can have meaning for you. So for instance, if like for example, if your village like while you were outside of your village and again this is another thing he talked about. Soldiers came in and they raped everybody. Well, raped every woman. I don't know if they would do that with men and they killed the kids and things of that nature. Like then the fight that you partake in because you left the village already and you come back to fight them and claim your land again, that will have meaning for you. So war is not always senseless, but most times between political leaders, it's not always the smartest thing. Unless, usually something has to happen for there to be war. But I'm pretty sure no one, yeah, I'm pretty sure no one now is just doing wars because they're bored. But in the past, I know that was a thing. So the other thing that the author presented was is life just an algorithm because we do things like an algorithm base, and if you don't know what an algorithm is, it's just something that happens, in programming. I don't know if you're in the program, but I've took some courses on it, and there's not really a best way to describe an algorithm if you don't know what it is. It's just I got it. A set of sequences. So like one happens first, two happens next, and three happens next. And this is the same thing with the last book I talked about on task, which we have which I talked about, we have a hierarchy in our brain which shows which task to do first, and the tasks are based also on the importance of the task. So he talked about, is life just an algorithm? And I don't think it is. I think algorithms are based on life itself. So, well, actually, no. Now that I think about it, if algorithms equal life, then life will also have to equal algorithms. So maybe life is an algorithm, but also it's just an algorithm is just like with names and significances of the names, they're all correlated with symbols. So we could pretty much say life is a symbol, or the experience of living is a symbol, because I thought when people say life happens, like what do you, I want the logical language behind it. Like, what do you mean life happens? And I thought just living experiences just happen. I don't, well, usually I don't ask for living experiences to happen unless I want them to happen. Like, oh, I want to live an experience of reading another book. So, but do I think life is just an algorithm? Yes, because algorithms are equal to life, but like just because it that we have the symbol of an algorithm correlated with life doesn't mean that life is meaningless, because there is meaning to life. And again, I'll talk, if I didn't explain my theory on that in the past video, I'll talk on my theory on that. But the next question he presented. This is questions that he asked at the end of the book. What's more valuable, intelligence or consciousness? And when I thought of this, I thought of the Turing test with with a programmed AI. You know, the AI getting smarter, supposedly. I'm not too, I don't really read books on AI, so I'm not too sure, but that was a story from, well, study, I should say, from the 90s, and we're in 2021. So maybe AI did get really smart in the past few years, past 20, 30 years. But my answer to that question is intelligence is more important than consciousness, because with intelligence, we can harness consciousness. Like in the next, because we can't really say a complete time range, but in the next 300 years, there's a chance that the robots, or not robots, because I don't think robots are a thing of extreme intelligence, but maybe we could say robots. Maybe robots in the next 300 years will be intelligent enough to have consciousness, because I don't think consciousness can get you intelligence. Like, for instance, say someone was conscious, but they didn't have language, then they wouldn't understand. And like, this was a baby, and well, we can't say it's a baby. Someone that's 12 years old, they have no knowledge, and I don't know how they would survive for that long in the first place. But they're hungry. They can feel the hunger, but they don't know what it is, because they're not intelligent enough to understand what the hunger is. They just know they're in an unpleasant state of being. Again, because the state is yourself, so they feel unpleasant. So that's my answer to the second one. What's more valuable, intelligence or consciousness? Intelligence. And the third one, what will happen to society, politics, and daily life when non-conscious but highly intelligent algorithms know us better than we know ourselves? I think that, well, that kind of is what happened in now with ads. You know how ads show up, and usually they correlate with what I want to know, but not always so. So what will happen when they show up? Well, they pretty much did show up already. Again, like I'm explaining with ads, but and what happened now? Pretty much nothing has changed, except people are getting more recommendations on things that they like the YouTube homepage, the recommended page. There's usually something I would want to watch on there. So what would happen? Our life would be more convenient. It's nothing like AI is gonna take over the world. If I go outside without a phone, I don't see AI taking over the world. So, so that's just my little discussion on Homo Deus. I'm not sure how to pronounce that either, but the meaning of this book is, and I like talking about the meaning of books. The meaning of this book is, man, I could correlate this with my everyday life, and I could just say something to me. But just relax, bro. Like algorithms, algorithms may just be life, you know. So what? What will happen to society? Look outside, bro. I hear birds chirping and it's relaxful outside. So I'm with this. I could always. It's kind of my confirmation bias because I always correlate books with relaxation. And again, my name repose mind, just relaxation of the mind. That's Homo Deus.